Hello everyone and welcome to another video. This time we're going to be looking at Marvel Rivals, a new hero battler game that I've been playing an absolute ton of in the closed alpha that's currently still ongoing. We are going to be doing a tier list of all the champions or heroes or characters or whatever you want to call them, since they're not technically all heroes, and see where they land based on my play so far. So without further ado, let us begin. The first character here is going to be Black Panther. This is a melee sort of backline dashing around damage character, mainly excelling at killing these sort of squishier targets like the healers in the backline. Unfortunately, as we will get to later, I think there are other characters that just do this better. And although Black Panther's sort of thing is that when he gets weaker, lower health, he deals more damage, it doesn't feel like enough to actually be worth it, because you might be dealing a lot of damage in like the split second you're alive on, 20, 30, 40 health. So yeah, Black Panther, although extremely cool in the game, is not too great in my opinion. So we're going to be unfortunately sliding him all the way into the D tier. Now don't get me wrong, as with all of these characters, and this will be true, it doesn't mean that the character's unplayable or that, if you play him, you'll never do anything. I've played against a couple of Black Panthers that have been really annoying, especially as a healer, but you have to be really good to make him work, and you have to guarantee when you dive in you get those kills, or it just won't be doing as much as some of the other DPS. And now moving on to one of the tanks in the game right now, which is Doctor Strange. A pretty solid tank overall. He's very unique in that he has an ability where he can create a portal, and it's basically like Portal the game. So you create one portal where you are, you create another portal somewhere else on the map, and your whole team, and the enemy team actually, can jump through and just instantly get there. So that's like one of his big gimmicks. Unfortunately at the moment it does lag up the game for everyone when that happens, so hopefully they'll fix that in the future. But in terms of his strength as a tank, he has a shield, a really big circular sort of magic shield he can put up to block projectiles, but as with a lot of the shield characters, very weak versus melee. And his ultimate is extremely powerful. It's an AoE, basically knocks your soul out of your body, and then while it travels back to your body, the enemy team basically get to beat them up. So it's quite a strong ult. My only issue with Strange, even though I don't think he's bad, is that that's pretty much all he has, and between actually having your ult and using your portal, say the portal's a gimmick, getting to have your ultimate is strong, but that's kind of all he does. I feel his auto attacks just aren't that amazing. His other abilities, you have to hit a lot with the auto attacks, and you can do a small AoE around you, and you can also fly a little bit, which again, for a tank, it can get you out of trouble, but as a tank you kind of want to be in the mix, so flying may not really help out too much. I know some players like him a lot, but for me, I'm going to put Strange firmly in C tier in terms of the tanks, because although he is good, I don't think the gimmick's enough, and I just think that there are other tanks that do better, which we can get to in a minute. Well, less than a minute, because it's the next character up. Groot is another tank, one that Rocket can ride along if you want him to. Incredible tank. Probably, for me, the best tank in the game by far. I don't really think any of the other tanks realistically come close. Now, the other tanks have roles to play, but if you are playing like a one tank comp, or I guess a two tank comp, if one of those tanks is not Groot, you're probably doing something wrong. His walls seem endless. Not only can they block and shield your own team from, say, projectiles and allowing you to, say, for example, push payload, defend a point, but they can also just wall in enemy teams or wall out enemy teams in some way. So really create some weird traps. One strategy you see a lot is Groot will go forward, enemy tanks obviously go forward, and then you wall off the tank from the rest of the team and then just kill the tank, and then they're in trouble. So really flexible. The walls seem like they're just infinite. I know they're obviously not. There is like a small cooldown and you only have so many, but they seem infinite, which is a problem. His ultimate, although not mind-blowing, is extremely good at just locking down healers if Groot can get in the backline. And because he can go with Rocket, if you have a Rocket support, you also just you have more total health anyway. So Groot, I think, kind of has it all in terms of tanks. I'm not going to go through all the characters' abilities one by one, but in terms of just health, healing potential, annoyingness to the opponent team, I think Groot has it all. So Groot for me is just S tier. If Groot's not in your tanks, in your tank sort of makeup of your team at any given point, you really hope the tanks playing what other characters, whether it's Strange or Magneto or whoever, or Hulk, are doing extremely well. Because if they're not, they should be on Groot. Next up, another character who's probably going to go up there is going to be Hela. I'm just going to put her straight in S tier anyway. She is a DPS. She's basically the, as far as I'm aware, or that I've noticed, the only hit scan character in the game. Extremely long range hit scan. Basically a faster sniper rifle character where you don't really scope, but you just click heads and they die. Can basically two-shot any DPS or any like 250 health character. And she's extremely strong. The strongest part about her is just her left click being hit scan there, which is super powerful. But ultimate's good. She flies up in the air, does some bombardment. Good against, I think, teams that are less prepared for it or don't really know how to deal with it. But overall, I think Hela is just, as long as someone can aim right and do those sort of clicking head kind of thing, you probably do want a Hela in most situations, generally. Sometimes, like, for example, if you're all piling on a point to defend it or try and push it, Hela can argue that Hela can get kills, which is great. But, like, in terms of her being sticky, she does have some levels of escape. But she's pretty weak once someone gets on her. She doesn't really have that many great tools or isn't really tanky. So sometimes you would want to maybe go for a bit more annoying or a bit more tanky DPS. But overall, Hela is fantastic. And I know because a lot of people are saying they're all nerfs and buffs and all this. I think the biggest nerf they could do to Hela, unless we just say reduce damage, is actually reduce the amount of left clicks she can do before she reloads. Weird things to talk about in this game, because although the characters don't really all use guns, almost all of them have like her left click auto attacks do need a reload, and I think Hela can do like throw the things like 8 times. That could be maybe reduced to 6 or 5, so that she has high damage outputs with hit scan, which is super powerful. But it's like throw, reload, throw. So there's a bit more downtime, and you have to be maybe even more accurate with Hela. But regardless, as long as you can click on people, really powerful hero. Bruce or slash Hulk, one of the other tanks in the game. Really mixed bag with Hulk. I think he's one of those characters that it seems and feels like, especially thematically, that, oh, you're Hulk, just jump in and swing. And that is kind of what you do, as long as you've got backup, because other than, you've got some shields, you've got a kind of a stun, but other than just punching people, that's kind of all you have. So if you're going to be jumping in, if you leap in on your own, you'll die, get turned back to Bruce, and then you'll die even quicker. So even though it feels like you should pop off, I think Hulk is okay. I think I put Hulk in C again, because it's difficult to get past that. If we don't have Groot in the team, I feel like we should, so the other tanks are worse. And Hulk doesn't really have a niche. Again, he's decent on if it's a last-minute scramble to secure a point or push enemies off a point. But overall, I think Hulk is fine as a character. And again, C tier isn't bad, it just doesn't stand out to me. Iron Man, a ranged flying character. So although a lot of characters can get themselves in the air, not all of them can permanently fly, Iron Man being one of them. Comes with its ups and downs. I feel like to balance perma flying, they make them really slow in the air, which means they can obviously be sniped or whatever, which makes sense. But Iron Man, I think, is so close to being good. I think the prevalence of Hela is the biggest problem, because Hela is the easiest way to counter flyers, because they move quite slow. You just go click, click, they're dead, done. But Iron Man does have a role and a niche. Like sometimes if you need to clear out a point, switching to him just to use his E, which powers up all his abilities, and then do the AoE blasts, is really powerful. And also his ultimate, again, as a big just AoE bomb, is strong. Again, though, the problem, which will be the issue with some of these characters, is getting to the ultimate feels kind of rough. And normally you want to start the ultimate really quickly. But as Iron Man, as long as the enemy team kind of knows what they're doing and looks up, you can be bullied out very quickly. And someone will just sit there, wait for you to peek, and because you're pretty slow, you'll take so much damage. Unless you've got maybe a pocket healer with you, it can be a little bit difficult. So I think for Iron Man, even though I like him as a character, some things would have to be buffed. Maybe his movement speed, maybe his rockets, because his rockets the amount of times I've pressed fire rockets and I felt like it did nothing is kind of absurd. So I'll also put let me think. This is a tough one actually, because would I rather be have an Iron Man or Black Panther? I think I'll go C for Iron Man. You know what? I might have to move these to B because I think these are better than Iron Man overall. So let's do this instead. Let's do this. We're changing it up already. Next up is Loki. Loki's one of the support characters. He does heal. He does have these clones that he puts that you can teleport and sort of swap places with. He can go invisible as well. He has a backstab ability that I don't think I've ever seen anyone use. But generally, I think the most powerful thing with Loki is he doesn't normally heal the most. He is a bit annoying for your opponents to deal with. But the biggest thing I've seen with Loki is the ultimate. His ultimate is very powerful and he can stack it pretty quickly. And he basically, you can turn into any character you can like sort of see and click Q on. Any range, I think. And what I've seen it done so many times is, for example, if you have a Punisher on your team that's about to ult, you turn into the Punisher as well, and you get the ultimate. You get all the abilities and you get their ultimate that you can do for a bit. You both just ultimate, and you both ultimate at the same time. And I think that is extremely powerful because suddenly your opponent can't focus one Punisher. They have to focus two, and also two Punishers doing the ult at the same time does incredible damage. And Punisher's just one example, right? You can do it with a lot of the big ults, such as Spider-Man. You could Magik and go Darkchild both ways. I've seen a few people do it with what's the word? With Doctor Strange as well, just to get the is it Eye of Agamotto, I think. Get him to do that. So Storm's another one as well. So I think Loki, although maybe not the best healer, which is what people think of as support, I do think in a skilled player with communication, so say you queue with a friend or a couple of friends, if you can line it up and say, okay, you will, I'll ult, and then go, like if you had two Helas, for example, it'll be very powerful. So I think Loki is definitely up there in A tier for me. Next up is Luna Snow, another support character. One that's I would argue pretty aggressive support character. It's one of them, I mean, I think all the supports are more or less like this, apart from Mantis, that you basically shoot your friendlies to heal them and then shoot the enemies to damage them. She does have a freeze effect. She does have, you know, decent abilities to deal damage as well as heal. But again, I think Luna's strength is, yeah, the heals can be pretty sharp as long as you can aim, because you do have to land the heals on your friendlies, something that a character like Mantis and Rocket don't have to do as much. But for Luna, as long as you can aim and you're okay at that, I think Luna's ultimate really pays for itself, because she basically puts a big AoE. You can move while you're doing it, so you're the center of the AoE as Luna. And there's other options, but people really just sit on the heal version, and no one dies. Like, you really can't die. Your teammates that are in your sort of vicinity can't die. So it's just a nope button. So if your enemy team pushes and starts popping ults, Luna just presses that, and your team's almost certainly going to be okay as long as they're close to you. So I do think Luna's pretty good. And I would also put Luna up here in A2. Next up is another tank. Probably in terms of like to actually play, my favorite tank, especially if you have a Scarlet Witch, which is Magneto. Character, you have a sort of a bullet shield or ranged projectile shield that stops each power in front of you. You get the rings up on your back as you start to absorb things and hit people with your left click to throw like a sword to do some damage. But yeah, it's a tricky one. Magneto's fun, but I think he's only fun when you have Scarlet Witch in the team, which if you guys don't know, there's a team up where Scarlet Witch does, I think, 15% more damage if Magneto's on the team. And then Magneto gets a whole new ability where he gets like a Chaos Sword that suddenly is like a long-ranged attack that you can do maybe 6-7 times before it runs out. And it does a lot of damage. For a tank at that range, because it's very long range, you can kill people like pretty aggressively. So I think that's key. The elephant in the room for me is Magneto's ultimate. It's super weak, I found, in terms of damage, and it feels like it should do a bit. It's just a big bomb, right? He just pulls all the stuff into a magnetic ball and then throws it. I don't think I've ever seen it kill anyone, if I'm being honest. But one thing that maybe a lot of people didn't know or didn't notice is it does soak all projectiles, as far as I could tell from when I've seen it. And I think that's what it says in the text. And I think Magneto's should start using the ult defensively, weirdly enough, where like, oh, you're hearing a Punisher go off with the roll or Star-Lord, and I need to test it more, but I think if a Star-Lord or Punisher or whoever goes off and starts shooting, and you press ult, the orb or the magnetic ball should soak up all the bullets. So I think that's what it's for, and I think one of the issues is too many people think it's like a spirit bomb just out of nowhere, and it's not. So whether that needs a buff or whether that's just working as intended, I don't know. But I'd probably put Magneto in B tier. I think it's tricky because I would put Magneto in A tier if you have Scarlet Witch in the team, but if you don't, he definitely goes in B tier for me. But he is my favourite tank to play. Next up is Mantis, a healer that's a bit of a weird one, honestly. A very simple healer. Basically, you have so many charges or leaves or whatever they're called, and you'll right click, you just look at a friendly, right click, and it puts a heal over time on them, and it's pretty strong. And you can just sort of spam it. You get these back faster, they auto regen, but you get them back faster if you just hit things with left click as well, deal damage. But the problem for me is like a Mantis damage boost, it's always hard to tell how good it is. So that's something I probably have to test. But damage boost is fine, but you also use the leaves for that. The sleep again is okay, but the self damage buff I feel like is just a button that's never getting pressed. Like you can choose to use one of your resources to give yourself a damage buff, which I would rather have that an option to heal yourself more than anything as an emergency heal. But I think like Mantis, I do play Mantis probably as my secondary support, because I've been playing a lot of support because I've been queuing solo on ranked, and then we'll talk about my main support in a minute. But Mantis is good for like if you just want raw healing power, honestly. So she is good, but she is a bit limited. It's one of those ones where like you don't have to aim with Mantis. You literally just roughly look at your friendlies, right click, and they're healed. Done. So, and she has a very similar ult to Luna, where you just do a big burst of healing and movement speed. So I think I put Mantis in B as well. I think she's pretty good, although she is very simple. You're probably not going to do any crazy plays with her, but she pumps out so much healing that maybe it's worth. Next up is a controversial one. For those of you who watch Cozy, you'll know Cozy put Magik in F, and as a Magik fan, and probably my favourite character in the game, I am hurt and I'm upset. I understand why though, because Magik can be difficult. Magik's a melee character that you need to get in the back line and start slicing and dicing, and basically the more damage she's doing, she's getting shield, so that's how she sustains. The problem is, if you just run in on your own randomly into a backline that knows or sees you quickly and is prepared for it, you'll just die. If you miss a swing, you're probably dead just instantly. So she's super hard to play, but there's two things that a lot sort of, and I'm biased because I like the character. There's two things I would say. One, if you don't hit and you know when to jump in, like if the tanks are engaging, you sneak around the back and get in the back line. If you pop off, you will kill 3 to 4 people. You'll probably kill the whole backline, honestly, unless they are very fast at reacting to you. But you can do tons of damage, especially if you have Dark Child. If you have Dark Child, you kill the whole team. Also, there is something to be said for, if you can imagine the two teams are sort of doing this and like pushing towards each other. If you go around the back, you dive in the back line, as long as you don't get instantly killed. What I've noticed is if you dive in with Magik and start juggling people, pushing them back, portaling around, they back away. And suddenly what you've done is the tanks are here, the backline is here, and you're in the middle as Magik. And they're going further away. They're like backing off, which splits the enemy team. And if you manage to push back 2 to 3 characters, even for a few seconds, well, that's just one of your team, which is you, have pushed 3 of theirs back, whilst the rest of your team is probably together nuking the tanks. And I think that's pretty valid. And I do think, although she's incredibly hard to play, she is quite strong. But I would honestly... Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to put her in A tier. I think good players are an absolute menace on Magik, honestly. But we'll see how it goes. There's my Magik rant over. Namor coming up next. A cool character. I think he's let down by he does what Hela does, but he isn't hit scan. So he's worse, right? In terms of just damage output, let's say. I think he has a better ult. His ult is a really good sort of engage tool. And probably one of the best sort of team fight winning ults, because if you dunk it on a point or a payload that everyone's around, the enemy just falls down and then you should just kill him. So he has a good ult, but everything else he does is just worse than Hela. Because he's a long range spear throw sort of sniper. And it just, like, that's the problem, right? Just his ult makes him good. But I'll actually put him in C tier, honestly, because I don't know why you play Namor, unless you want to go Hela and Namor, but that seems a bit over the top in terms of long-range snipers. So yeah, Namor in C. Next up is this the final tank? It is, it's the final tank, Penny Parker. A bit of a weird character because she doesn't seem very tanky, but her ability is very strong. If you are defending on any of the, you know, various game modes that you might need to defend something on, something that's static, mainly the payload, not as well, but any of the point defense or point control modes or maps, she's really good because you just create a minefield and it's an absolute pain for your opponent to deal with. You also can web them, which is like a stun. You can web people up at range all the time. The cooldown is very, very low. And then on top of that, although she doesn't have a high damage output, she's tanky enough to survive. And then her ultimate, again, if you're fighting over a point, if you pop that ult, you just run around like an idiot and push everyone away, drop mines all over the floor, and basically cause havoc, and make your enemy team not want to, like, approach, which is what you want, right? You want mines everywhere, and if they step forward, that'll blow up, then that'll blow up, then someone will shoot them, then they're dead, and it's game. So I actually think Penny Parker is the second best tank because she actually has a role. Would you use her when attacking on, like, the payload? Probably not, I don't think. Do you use her on defense? 100% I would. If you are, again, Groot might be a level above, but if you're running two tanks on, like, a defensive play, I would run Groot and Penny because with walls and then mines, how do your opponents get in? I don't know. So I think Penny actually is a step above there in terms of the other tanks for me. Next up is Punisher, the Punisher. I think a lot of players go to DPS. It's probably my go-to DPS unless I always want to play Magik, but I play Magik to do a job, and if that job isn't needed, I don't play her. But Punisher, really standard, just a lot of damage. I've seen some really good players even today when I was streaming play Punisher, and they're an absolute menace because they've got decent ability to stay far enough back because all their abilities are super long range. But if they get close, that shotgun's pulled out. And you're not a tank, and even sometimes when you are a tank, you will get melted if Punisher stays alive. As well as an ult, you basically have to give high priority to killing, similar to Scarlet Witch. If you don't kill Punisher in his ult, you better hope that you can't see you because you'll die. So I think Punisher is definitely up there in A tier for me. Extremely. It's tough because I can see already people will kick off saying Magik shouldn't be A tier. I can already tell, like, putting Punisher and Magik here, but let me think. Yeah, I think this is fine. Okay, I'm gonna get so much rubbish for this. Next up, we have Rocket Raccoon, the support of my choice. I basically play Phil on ladder, on ranked or whatever you want to call it, and I play Rocket as support most of the time. I think I have like quadruple, if not more, the hours on Rocket than any other character. Maybe 5x or some of the hours. Rocket, I think, is the best support in the game, and people probably disagree, but look at what he brings to the table, right? At least from my view. His heal, although not singularly quite strong, you can just endlessly spam the balls and they're just bouncing around healing people. It's got not unlimited range, but basically unlimited range, so you can be really far away and just throw those balls towards the fight and they are going to heal, and they'll bounce and heal again. His actual gun, like a damage part of his gun, is pretty strong at laying down pressure. A lot of the time, I'm dealing damage with Rocket. Sometimes you have to one-on-one and kill people, or I try and shoot people in the air because it's something that Rocket can do pretty well, as long as you know how to like lead your gun. But for me, it's good at just shooting down shields stuff, like just piling on damage onto tanks and shields that is extra, especially when you sat on top of Groot as well. So there's that, but then when you look at like his actual kit, he has his tower thing. I should learn the names of these things, shouldn't I? He has his tower that not only, and if you don't know this, if you're stuck in the room before you start, throw your tower out instantly because everyone can get armor. You pack it up, and then you can just throw it out again when the map starts. Anyway, you have tower that shoots out armor and health packs for people, and armor's a big deal. It's more health than you should be allowed. And then it just reses the first person that dies within range, and the range is pretty big. But it's down to the rocket to make sure that's always active. So you get a res closer to the fight, and one of the biggest things in games like this is you get punished for deaths, and the punish is the amount of time that player it takes to come back into the fight. So the res is huge. On top of that as well, he has insane mobility, so he can like dash around, shift around, wall climb. He's small, so he's actually pretty hard to like pin down and hit, which is very good for support. You don't want to die. And then if you look at how I've marked the other characters, his two team ups, one is with Groot, so he gets the ability to sit on Groot's shoulders and you gain like damage reduction, and then Groot also gains just more health, full stop. It's just a base amount of, I think it's plus 200 health or something. So that's insane. If Rocket's a good support and Groot's the best tank, well, that helps because you make them even stronger. Rocket does plus 15% healing as well if Groot's on the team. Then with Punisher, you get an extra ability where you throw down another thing that does a big AoE, and if Punisher's in it, he has unlimited ammo, which means he never has to reload, just holds left click, and also fires faster. And this works with the AR and the shotgun. And the shotgun, if you've not done it with the shotgun with a rocket yet, just try it out because it's hilarious. But just an insane buff to an already strong DPS, and a good buff to the best tank, and you're a good support in general that reses teammates. He just ticks all the boxes for me. But I'm going to put Rocket up here, and I don't care what anyone says. You'll notice my bias a little bit. Next up is Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a tricky one. He has a really strong AoE ult that can really just win team fights quite easily. He's extremely good at swinging because of his swing base. He's basically a teleport around the map, let's be honest. His swing is really good to go into the backline and start messing with people and just comboing supports. However, he can get dealt with. He is squishy, and unless the player is exceptionally good, there are not many Spider-Man players that I've been that worried about. There's been like maybe one that I can recall from like many hours so far of playing that I've been like, oh, okay, that's a problem. Because they're all annoying, and there is a benefit to be annoying in this game, obviously, and then draw attention away from the main fight. It's a tough one. I think I put Spider-Man in B tier, honestly. I think he can be strong, and there's a world. I think it's one of those like curves, right? Like so Spider-Man starts off really bad because everyone's bad at the game. New players don't know how to deal with him, but new players don't know how to control him. Then people get good at Spider-Man, and he starts owning everyone. But then people realize, well, if Spider-Man jumps down and the supports and like a ranged DPS just turn and kill him, not really a problem anymore, right? So I think that's the sort of the curve we'll see over time. So yeah, I think it's okay in B. Next up is Star-Lord. And Star-Lord, honestly, could be an absolute terror. I think Star-Lord is... I'm trying to work out if Star-Lord deserves to be next to Hela. And I'm not sure. Probably. So Star-Lord is a really good DPS and sort of a hit and run style tactics. He can fly for a little bit. He has quick reloads. He has fast firing guns with high DPS output. And a really good ultimate, which basically has auto lock on for a while. He's pretty squishy, but again, like a solid player can make use of just diving in, kill, 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 dive out and run. So I do think Star-Lord is pretty strong, the ultimate's strong, and multiple Star-Lords have caused me problems over the last few days. I think Star-Lord's probably... Star-Lord and Hela are the 2 DPS that I've... If there's a good player on them, I've thought, oh no, we're in trouble, we're probably going to lose. You know, if they're like significantly good. So I think I put Star-Lord in S tier as well, honestly. As I just think he's that good. Okay, second to last, we have Storm. I love Storm, not only as a character, but I love Storm in this game. But there are some slight issues. She's a permanent flyer, so she has the same issues Iron Man has, is that she's very easy to sort of lock down because she sort of just, unless she's using a wind and using a re, which we'll talk about in a minute, she moves pretty slow. Her left clicks are pretty uninspired as well, I'll say. That they're just okay. But for the positives, her lightning sort of strike that she does with a right click is quite strong but has a short range. And her shift ability, which is an aura, can be really good for the team. So she either gives the team speed and then a speed boost when she presses E, or plus damage and then a damage boost when she shoots lightning down with the lightning as well. So those auras are good, and if you're okay being, let's say, like the 3rd DPS, right? Because a lot of the comps I see is like 1 tank, 2 healers, 3 DPS. I think Storm is a great 3rd DPS because she's in that line between support and DPS. And then, on top of that, her ult will win team fights. Like, if you can keep her alive long enough to start getting her ult in an efficient manner, you will win, because her ult is very strong. Dives in, pulls up the storm, and then just pops off. So, pretty hard to deal with, honestly, as well. Especially if your team can play around it. So, yeah, Storm's really good, and I think I think she's so unique with the auras. I would put her at here on B as well. And then finally we have Scarlet Witch. And people are gonna hate me on this. I love Scarlet Witch. I love playing her. She's super fun. The problem is, I actually think, like, on the first couple of days, everyone's like, oh my god, the ult's so OP, because she just nopes everyone in range, basically. But the more people have learned to, you can line of sight it, you can kill her, and I think shields block it as well, because it's kind of like line of sight, I guess. And you can just kill her. So maybe players have to get better at doing the ult. I know I've really focused on, like, proccing the ult, then coming around the corner, so I'm not just ulting in the middle of nowhere, and so I can just die. But I think Scarlet Witch, whilst good, isn't that good. I think she's worse than people think she is. Now, again, none of these characters are unplayable, and I'm going to put her in B, because I don't think... B is not bad, right? B is not for bad. B is for... I don't know. Yeah, I've got no words begin with B for some reason. B is good. It's just not super impressive. And again, can Scarlet Witch go in, ult, and kill 5 or 6 of the enemy team? Yes. Should that happen that often? No. So is she going to be good enough in general? I don't know. I don't think so. I do think the hype for Scarlet Witch and the playstyle is very fun, but is she better than some of the other... Is she better than Punisher on the team? Is she better than Star-Lord? Is she better than Hela? And honestly, for the similar job, is she better than Magik? People will disagree, but I don't know. So that's what I think anyway. I think I'm happy with this layout, and again, none of the characters are unplayable. If Black Panther is your favourite character on Namor or Iron Man, great. I play those characters as well. It's just they are more niche and they are harder to get more out of than the characters above them on the tier list. Whereas, for example, Hela, to get good results with Hela, can you left click on enemy characters? If the answer is yes, Hela will do well, all right? You will do well with Hela, and the rest of that is just honing that. But yeah, overall, that is my tier list. You can see the top team. If you've got a Hela, Groot, Rocket, and Star-Lord on your team, you're probably going to be feeling alright, at least in terms of team composition. But those are just my thoughts. You let me know your thoughts and how you've been getting on with Marvel Rivals if you managed to play it in the test. Thanks all for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you had a good time, and I will see you next time.